not have considered myself to be your average farm kid. To be exact, I lived in 2 houses. My dad lived in the country, just a few miles away from my family's farm, where my mom lived in town, about 30 minutes away. So that meant, as a kid, I lived with my mom most of the time. I only spent weekends and a few weeks with my dad on the farm. I remember always wanting to stay longer because those weekends and the short 6 weeks were just not enough for me. To be exact, I maybe even cried a little bit just to stay longer. My dad grew up on the same farm he's now operating. Before, they had just about 60 grain Holsteins. It wasn't until 2008 when my family had purchased a few registered Holsteins. We had purchased them from a family friend who had recently gotten sick and had to sell his herd. Throughout the years, my parents had looked into getting into the showing world, but they were unsure due to the amount of time and money it was going to take. So then we started going to a few more auctions, buying a few registered here and there, and then we finally built our herd. We even included a few registered brown Swiss. After that, my family had built the herd. My sister and I had finally reached the age where we could start showing at our county fair. And let me tell you, going to the county fair was the best thing at that age. I always wanted to go more and more every year, but it was only once a year. That whole summer was filled with walking our heifers up and down the driveway, watching what we were feeding them, and spending time with them, creating a bond that was unbreakable. After that, my parents had looked into going into a few more. We went to our first Wisconsin Holstein District 1 show in 2015. This was my first show besides county fair, and it was nothing like a county fair. There were so many people, so many beautiful cows. It was just an amazing experience. That show made me realize that it's a lot of work going into this industry, but it also isn't always about the cows. Those shows were also about bringing people together with the same interests and spending quality time with each other. After the years went on, I started going to a few more shows. We went to more district shows, we went to a few Brown Swiss Canton shows, Wisconsin State Fair, Minnesota State Fair, and even World Expo. At these shows, I started meeting other kids my age. These kids were just something else. They understood what it was like to live on a farm, where I kind of knew, but I was just breaking in there. They had passions other than music and sports and extracurricular activities, unlike my friends at school. And I felt like I could relate to these people just as much. 2018, I decided to move with my dad and stepmom on the farm. This had to be one of the biggest life-changing moments for me. I went from living in town to having a part-time job to being completely involved on the farm. In the mornings, I'd wake up before school, and then I would go to school and then come back. This was something I had never done before, and it made me appreciate my parents a little bit more for the work they put into our farm. That fall, my family had lost all our hired help. So then it was just up to my dad, stepmom, myself, and my sister. This was a bit of a struggle for us, as I was just switching schools, so trying to adjust to the school was another big step for me. And then trying to be involved on the farm every day was even more difficult. My parents had put ads in local papers and on the internet, hoping for someone to be interested, but we had no luck. So my family continued to do the same thing every day. I will admit there was a time when I wished my parents weren't dairy farmers, but then I look back at that moment and think to myself, I was so wrong. I'm forever grateful that my parents are dairy farmers. They've taught me so much about being responsible, about having a good work ethic, and caring for other creatures. Because of their dedication and time they put into the farm, they have influenced me to go into the dairy industry. I decided to go into this industry not only because my parents had a big part of it, but it's because I want to give back to the community that I was raised in. I want to make dairy farming successful again. I want to make it more enjoyable. For me, I never thought I would have gone into the dairy industry, but here I am going to River Falls, studying dairy science to become an animal nutritionist. As we all know, there are a few problems in the dairy industry, but nothing that can't be unsolved. The economic system today is difficult for small dairy farmers to be successful. For my dairy farm, it has been quite a bit of a struggle within the last few years. Within the last year, my family's farm has completely changed. My grandpa was diagnosed with cancer and had decided to sell his part of the herd. I remember the morning they loaded up 56 cows, but these weren't just cows, these were family members. This was one of the toughest goodbyes. Every day it seemed a little empty in the barns. I mean, really it was, but it was just part of our heart was missing. It was a change that needed to happen, but it was a difficult one to overcome. Along with selling 1/3 of my family's farm, my family still struggled with finding hired help. This was a struggling moment for my parents because I had just moved out of the house and I started going to college. And it was only my dad, my stepmom, and my sister. And I try to come back every weekend just to help out because I know how much it meant for them. My parents never get time off. I don't remember the last time we actually went on a family vacation. And I know my parents work hard, and I know it doesn't matter if they go on vacations, because the true meaning behind all the work is that we're spending time with each other, sharing our love for the farming industry and the cows. No one ever said that farming or even dairy farming was an easy job. It's a full-time job, 24/7, 365 days a year. It's never ending. But after that point, it doesn't just become a passion anymore. It becomes a lifestyle that I'm not willing to give up anymore. My love for the dairy industry is something I will cherish forever.